This is Leslie Kane, and you're listening to That UFO Podcast.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to That UFO Podcast. My name is Andy, and this is your bumper preview pod, looking at the guests and shows lined up for February and into March 2024. And there is a whole load of folks to come, so make sure you listen up. And if there are any guests that really pique your interest, then please send me over a question for the listener question portion of the interviews. And even then, sometimes the questions can be that good I'll build or bake them into the actual full body of the interview itself. A heads up just before I get to the guests that will be joining me, the latest members only content is up for February, and it's nearly 40 minutes of me going through some of your 2024 thoughts and opinions, and then answering a bunch of listener questions too. The members only content will potentially change month to month, but it's a little extra something from me to you for those who pay for the podcast early, and without ads they get that little bit of extra bonus content as well, so thank you very much. It is available on all paid tiers through Apple Podcasts and Patreon. Both of those do come with a free trial as well. I think it's a 2-week free trial on both, so well worth checking out, and if it's not for you, then cancel it, no harm done. It's also on Spotify. You just have to search That UFO Podcast Premium on Spotify. It's a different feed with the podcast on there. You get it early, ad-free, and the same bonus content as well. Or for those of you who like to get scared a little bit, check out the YouTube memberships, because you get to see my lovely face. Anyways, thanks for listening to me, and let's get on to who's coming onto the podcast over the next 4 to 6 weeks. I've just finished recording with author, historian and researcher Graham Rendell on his new book, Chasing Shadows, Aerial UFO Encounters 1955 to 1956, and it's typically Graham, full of wonderful stories, information and detail about this topic's wonderful history, but also so much of it being relevant to what's happening now. Check that out early access, if you're on any of those paid platforms, or it'll be out on the free feeds for everyone from Tuesday the 27th of February. The Sol Foundation videos dropped last week, and they have been a huge talking point online. I've had the pleasure of interviewing several of those speakers, and I'm very excited to say a new voice will be joining me to talk through her presentation. Astrophysicist Dr. Beatriz Villarroel comes on. It's Villarroel, sorry, I'm pronouncing that so badly, but here we go. Comes on to the pod. She is the director of the Vasco Project, an assistant professor of the Nordic Institute of Theoretical Physics in Sweden, and now part of the advisory board for the Sol Foundation. And she will explain more on techno-signatures and the search for ET probes, not to be missed. And if you haven't already, go check it out. Check out her presentation made at the Sol Foundation, and I'll stick that link. Did I say stink? It's a preview. I'm not cutting that out. Stick that link straight into the description here. It's about half an hour long, folks. Absolutely brilliant. Really interesting. After that, then it's Danish researcher and host Fredrik Dirks Gottlieb. He's talking all things UFOs from his own experiences to how the subject is viewed in Denmark and around Europe. I always enjoy hearing new fresh perspectives, and Fredrik is certainly a guy who keeps on top of the UFO subject. He's done a lot of great work, folks, over in Denmark to help raise the profile of the topic, so be sure, as with any of these guests, to get a question over if it tickles your fancy. Next, I've got an often requested guest and someone I had lined up a while back, but the stars never quite aligned at the time to get him on. It's British author and researcher, including he's also a technology consultant, Nick Cook, whose previous work is often mentioned to me by my listeners, for example, Hunt for Zero Point, which delves into the world of advanced aerospace propulsion systems and the quest for anti-gravity technology. His new work is called The Light Beyond the Mountain, which focuses on UAP, but with a real lean on the consciousness connection, one that I'm sure will be popular but limited on time, so make sure you get your emailed questions over ASAP. Remember the email address, folks, ufoUAPam@gmail.com. It's also in the description for the pod. I told you there were plenty of guests to get through, and I'm not done yet. Next up is a bit of a follow-up to an interview I'd done a few months back. You might remember Serena DC came onto the pod to discuss the newly formed Hollywood Disclosure Alliance, that group. The interview got a mixed reception, as many were understandably sceptical about the organisation, its purpose, why it even formed. Dan Harari is the co-founder and will be joining me to expand on that interview, the initial months of the group, and I'd love for this one particular to be filled with listener questions, as this is a group who's meant to be representing the UFO topic and community. So get your questions over, a chance to have your voice heard. Definitely email me in for that one. Filmmaker and documentary maker Darcy Weir will join me again in the coming weeks to discuss his new documentary, which features folks like ex-Navy Chief oceanographer Timothy Gallaudet, looking at fast walkers and USOs. USOs, that is, folks, remember, unidentified submersible objects, if that's what you want to go with. It's got a few different acronyms. Darcy is a young independent filmmaker in this arena now and shines a light on a lot of different aspects of the UFO topic. Getting Tim on is a real get for Darcy, as he doesn't do too many appearances. So yeah, I'll be checking that documentary out myself in the next couple of days and then speaking to Darcy about it. And then I'm just going to rattle through the last couple of guests as they start to get a little bit deeper into March. So I'll try and refresh you at the time. But physicist and Sol presentee and professor of physics Kevin Knuth is someone I've long wanted to host. And finally, he joins me on the pod to talk about his presentation at Sol on the physics of UAP. He shared some incredible anecdotes on there too, so it'll be good to get him to open up a little bit further. All you folks who really enjoy the science side of the UFO topic, I'd love to hear from you for that one. And finally, towards the end of March, Ryan Wood, who was on with Richard Dolan, he is a researcher and author of several books on the UFO topic, including his updated version of his book Magic Eyes Only, looking at the history of the UFO crash retrieval topic. Really interesting one for me. That's something I really want to delve into more. His interview with Richard was fantastic, so I'll do my best to keep the standards high. That was a lot to get through. So in amongst all of that, there will be a new round of listener call-ins late in March. I'd say, late March. So email now if you want to get in early, as I had a huge response to the February call-ins. It was fantastic to speak to so many of you from all around the globe. Email me ideally with call-in in the subject line and I'll be in touch. Breakdowns, of course, where I'll be looking over breaking news and updates and more with Dan and maybe some other folks chipping in too, depending on what's happening. Once again, thanks to everyone for listening, viewing, engaging. If you want to support, then check out one of those free trials on Patreon or Apple. Get your content early, ad-free, and also members-only shows too. Or Spotify and YouTube are there without the free trials, but any support is greatly appreciated. I love doing this and I love hearing and speaking to all of you as well. So thank you for what you've done for me. And with that said, I'm absolutely freezing in here in the shed. I'm off to warm up and finish editing the Graham Rendell interview. Have a great day, great week, whatever you're doing, and I'll be speaking to you very, very soon.